The Arrow, Part 2. The Battle of Sector Ridge, Part 2 continued. Force Chief Sentry Onthril, seated inside his cannon station, calls the Chief Inspector to request the needed reinforcements. "Stand your ground!" It is the only reply that he utters. Enthril's only option is to formulate a plan, for time is steadily drawing thin. He orders all to hold their lines and to imagine themselves victorious as King Enith after the 1,000-Year War, how he held the heads of his enemies so that all could see and make no mistake of who the victor is. Today is that fight, the fight that changed the laws of the 7 systems. We must be victorious. We are victorious because the victor goes all the way that they may want. Generations will read of us this day at this battle on this ridge. We must win here because this is the only war and the only way our names will be remembered. We must live 1,000 more years. All of the soldiers cry out, 1,000 more years! All the while raising their weapons. They will do as they are trained as soldiers of the most glorious empire. The shield density is increased to 20 times its strength, and they adjust their defensive positions. 339 bandages Cliff's neck after removing all of the shrapnel. Arrow helps her to take him to the resting port for rapid tissue repair. Karin picks up Cliff's long rifle and takes up his position. She loads the long-range magazine and scans the enemy lines for what she can see. She can taste the metal in her mouth, the taste which she remembers from her first injury in battle. She wasn't vigilant and had let her guard down. She will make this mistake no more. Her hunt has paid off. What she sees is the unmistaken armor of an horde commander seated in tandem with a terrain fire. She adjusts her scope to find the distance to the target. Yet 5 miles, and the firing solution is ready. She slows her breathing to a steady heartbeat, for she can taste the kill. Time slows and the world around her becomes silent as she overcomes the weight of the trigger. The recoil is stronger than she expected, but it is managed appropriately. The round cloaks itself as it sails through the thick air, only revealing itself just before it smashes through the hardened canopy and tearing into the chest of her target. This has the effect of halting the advance of the enemy. Her comrades join her in a raucous cheer for her recovery. Onthril observes the enemy's movements to try to telegraph their next moves. What he notices next is very peculiar. 3 platform vehicles come to the front of the line with forward shield generators to create a safety barrier. There's nothing that his forces can do at the moment because his weapons are old and are only effective to 4 miles. He notices a new weapon being deployed, 40 across the entire front. Standing at 20 feet tall, they resemble an earth weapon known as the trebuchet. Large energy balls 6 feet across and glowing like a flame are loaded onto the trays. "Stand fast!" Enthril screams over the radio as he braces himself for the impact. He doesn't know if the 4 shields will hold up under pressure of this new threat. All weapons let loose their payloads. High into the sky they are launched. Oh, what a dazzling sight! They sparkle and glow with orange and red and blue, gulfing them on their ascent. The color is so bright that they black out parts of the sky around them. Every gun dog can only look up and stare at the spectacle. They aren't sure what to make of the objects, but all changes after their pinks have been achieved. Silence deafens them all, followed by the feeling as though the air has been sucked from their lungs. This has no effect on the Enithians. However, as the projectiles fall to the ground, they emit the most terrifying screech. They fall at around 100 miles per hour, crashing into the shield. The force is so great that the deflected energy shakes the ground beneath them. It is at this time that Enith has determined that they cannot hold out much longer with a weapon such as this. Something must be done about it, and quickly. Again and again and again, the barrage savagely addresses the Enithian shields, which somehow maintain its integrity. That is, until a twin salvo hits the upper right quadrant. The technicians warn Enith of a loss of structural integrity, falling to 95%. Something truly must be done. He puts in calls to his fellow force chiefs, sentries, and other groups via a separate communication line. None of them are under attack. He puts his idea to them, from which they agree to lend 7 of their assets each. They have 4 minutes to get them into position. The 4 shields are now at 80%. Enith calls 12 members of his troop, which includes Arrow, Karen, 339, Kolchak, and Clip. Clip must return to his post to provide protective coverage to his comrades as they stalk as closely as possible to Enith's new headache. 75%! The selected soldiers switch on their active cloaking armor before exiting the position from the rear. Enith turns to his technicians seated in front of him to find out if there's a way to intensify the cannon's blast to extend its effective range. In reality, the cannon's projectile can travel to beyond 7 miles. However, pinpoint accuracy can only be guaranteed up to 4 miles. 60%! The shield integrity still holds for now as the minutes slowly and loudly tick away in Enith's head. He sits uneasily in his commander chest, squeezing the armrest tightly under his clutch, while waiting to hear the words, "In place." The technician tells him that the photonic energy charge can be intensified and thickened to improve the effective accuracy. However, it can only be active for 3 rounds maximum. 49%! Enith accepts this challenge. In place. The words enter his ears, putting a delighted grin on his face, to which he replies, "Engage!" The flanking force opens heavy fire on the right side of the front line from only 2 miles away. With cannons, artillery, and shoulder-mounted guided weapons, they fire and fall back over and repeatedly in the hope to draw the enemy closer to within effective range of the big guns. The enemy's shields were only forward-facing, but now even those generators have been destroyed. This only allows Arrow and his comrades, who are within 2,000 yards, to open fire while still under cloak. They have positioned themselves 100 feet apart as they too employ a heavy barrage of small arms fire. They use the same tactic of fire and fall back. Kolchak's Mechna is well suited for this task as he sweeps it from right to left, firing at a rate of 1,000 rounds per minute. This gamble has relieved the pressure from Group F for now, allowing them to repair the shields. All is going to plan until the Horde brings forward their tank units down to deal with Arrow's unit. Enith doesn't see it in time and can only destroy the last 3 hovering battle tanks in the column. 7 of their enemies still bear down on his men. To see these machines at such close range is to understand why fear grips all of those who face this peril. They are heavily armored, especially in the front, and move very slowly because of it. The frontal armor cannot be penetrated by small arms fire, and it employs a 180 millimeter main gun that penetrates 10-inch armors. They go to work immediately, firing randomly, hoping to hit and maim their cloaked soldiers. Arrow and his crew move backwards slowly and carefully, hoping to continue to go undetected. The tanks, however, stop suddenly, still remaining inside of the 5-mile buffer. The tank in the center emits a pulse wave that temporarily disrupts the cloak of the armor, revealing that exposed gun dogs. They are introduced to fear for the first time, but it's not something that they are interested in. Onagar tells them all to disperse. Karen and Kolchak run to the right. Arrow and 3 through 9 also run to the right, while the other 8 run in zigzag patterns straight back to the ridge. This allows the enemy to capture the cloak's signature identity as the cloak comes back online. Now the enemy knows where they are. The 8 are showered by Mechna and the main gun fired by the 4 tanks in the center. The Mechna rounds have very little effect on their armor, but the cannons begin to find their targets slowly, yet methodically. Karen and Kolchuk outrun the turns of the turrets as each climb on top of a tank to place mines on the rear armor. They jump off and run around the rear of the tanks as the mines explode. Arrow and 339 work together to destroy their target tank, with 339 serving as bait. The tank swivels to chase as Arrow throws himself underneath it to attach mines to the engine. The vehicle explodes 2 seconds after passing over the him. The 2 then give chase to the central tanks to save the remainder of their comrades. They fire their shoulder rockets as they take out the remainder of the threat. Onshal orders them to fall back in line as the enemy starts their advance. Cover fire from munition-heavy armaments scream over their heads, and sniper fire from clip takes down more immediately infantry threats. The flanking forces also give fire as they return to their positions. Within 1 mile of their front line, Onagar hears what sounds as though 339 was screaming. He turns to see a massive claw, the color of an onyx, reaching from under the sand, grabbing 339, covering her body from her chest down. Her cries of, "Help me, help me," grow even as the beast slowly emerges from the sand, holding her higher and higher into the air. The end of part 2. You have been listening to part 2 of The Arrow by F.C. Gilbert. Onagar Arrow, The Battle of Sector Ridge is a production of Infarm Media and the Region Media Group. You've been listening to podcast stories. If you like this story and would like to hear more, please like this podcast and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.